Let me begin by saying who I am. I'm Shirley Brice Heath from the States and England, and I've worked in Denmark before. I'm a linguistic anthropologist interested primarily in how people learn. And most recently I've been working in the neurosciences looking at brain changes with learning in the arts. Very exciting topic.
And why is it that the work of the hands is so important in the context of learning?
Well, we've lost the use of the hands, particularly for young children, and certainly we've lost the idea of craft. I mean, you see it here in Denmark. In the years I've been coming here, I've seen it lost. The use of the hands will always trigger the brain toward deeper cognitive work in terms of remembering and recalling and relating one idea to the other, but also to developing new kinds of language. The more you use your hands, the more you think about language in different ways, and the more you actually learn language, particularly if you're a young child. So now as we use more plastic and fewer things for children's little hands to make, we are seeing language decline across modern economies. It's quite remarkable. And so I caution people, take away all those plastic toys, have your kids do things with hands.
So what does it mean to learn through or with or in the arts?
It's very, very difficult for people to understand this when they think of subject A, subject B, subject C. When you learn through the arts, you're learning for everything. You're learning for building relationships. You're learning for being reminded here of other aspects. You follow people through a museum and they'll say, you know, that reminds me of, you know, I used to have an aunt who lived there. I used to have this book. I remember my granny gave me this book. People are constantly reminded when they work with the arts. They are always pushing beyond boundaries. They're always thinking beyond. And that's so good for us, and we have so few opportunities to do that. So it's impossible, I would maintain, for anyone to work in the arts without essentially, if you will, lighting up, electrifying all the parts of their brain in ways that they don't when they do their standard task, and most particularly when they're thinking in terms of using the digits with the computers or the thumbs with the cell phone. But arts will lighten you in so many ways, because using the hands and the arms and also using the body in all sorts of ways will make you feel so much more alive. And we use all these metaphors, but those metaphors turn out to have all sorts of meaning. When we can, in the neuroscience lab, when we actually can put people in fMRI technology and have them filmed for the brain when they're doing walks in nature with children, we see very big differences in their brain from when they're simply sitting in their desk trying to work on a project. So it's the arts do all these things that we could never predict until we had the sorts of technologies that we now have.
And one last question, what kind of potential does it specifically have with adolescents to work with the arts and the hands?
Well, one of the things that is so important now, again with our fMRI technology, is that we know what happens with the adolescent brain development. We haven't known for a long time how that part of the brain that is most needed for decision making, for planning ahead, for forecasting, foretelling, we've never really known how that part of the brain works. Now we can see how it works, and that is the part of the brain that is developing during adolescence. And people are always saying about adolescents, they didn't think before they acted. They didn't plan that out. That wasn't very good planning. They wouldn't have gotten in trouble if they'd only planned. Now we can see that one of the things they have to have is a great deal of practice in planning, practice in thinking ahead, practice in envisioning what can happen. And we don't give them as many opportunities as we should in schools. So arts projects force you to plan ahead. You've got to plan when you're working on an art project, whether it's in an ensemble orchestra or whether it's in a theater or whether it's in a combined collaborative project with others in your school. You have to plan. And that means that you also have to think about consequences. And that's very important for the developing adolescent brain.